Join me as I talk with people who express their creativity in ways that can inspire the rest of us to recognize our own creativity. One of creativity's greatest gifts just might be its ability to help us envision new possibilities. And that's what my guest and I talk about today. Hello and welcome to Creativity Conversations once again. And today I have Sophia Vastek with me. So glad to have you here, Sophia.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I met Sophia last week at a conference called the Creative Economy, and Sophia said some things that were really intriguing to me. So before we go too much farther in, I'm just going to read you a few highlights from her very impressive bio. So she being Sophia, talking about you in the third person, you are New York based. You're in Troy, I believe, right?
Yep, that's
You're a
correct.
second generation pianist. You are, as your bio said, dedicated to creativity and creating musical experiences. And that's what I'd love to be talking about soon. But you had an earlier album called In Our Softening. You have another album coming up called A Light. And gosh, I'll just snip out a couple things that I thought were notable. One was that you've been recognized by the New York State Council on the Arts and the New York Foundation for the Arts. You've created and curated part of the Lift series at Troy Savings Bank Music Hall. You've been featured on NPR, BBC, and KEXP. What is that?
It's an amazing radio station based in Seattle. They're so great. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about I'm sure you've thought about this, your identity as a musician, as a creative. What what do you think that's done for you as a person?
Hmm. That's a great question. And I will say that I feel very lucky that I have always, as far back as I can remember, identified as a musician and a creative. I think for a lot of people there comes kind of a moment later when they're like I'm a musician or I'm, whatever. But I grew up with two professional musicians in the house, two pianists in fact.
Wow.
And I did not escape that bug. And so, I really was playing very early and for better or worse, just kind of, yeah, have always identified as a musician and an artist and creative. So yeah, I don't, it's kind of hard for me to answer because I don't really know any other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but what has it done for me as a person? I mean, I think it's just in kind of a very broad and general sense, given me a freedom for my life. I think I've never felt that I needed to follow some sort of playbook,
Mm.
for my personal life, but in my personal life and also my career. Um, yeah, I think there's a fluidity that has just kind of been baked into,
Mm.
the way that I move through the world. And that is it, sometimes I look at my life and I'm like, wow, what have I done? This is very scary. And then other times, it's like, well, of course, this is, everything has kind of led to this moment. But I would say in a broad sense, that's probably what it has gifted me
Yeah.
is that freedom.
That's such an important thing. And I will say that a lot of the clients that I've worked with have been so much in their head that they they're not used to the idea of freedom, but secretly they wish they had more of it.
Mm.
And I'm wondering if, as a musician and in doing all of the things that you have done, that part of what's happened for you is that you are less afraid to do things that are out of the box and to contemplate possibilities that maybe somebody who's a little bit more left brain would think, mm-mm, that's too far out of my wheelhouse. I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah, I think so. And I would actually say it's not that I'm less afraid, because I think I would say I think everyone grapples with that. I
Mm,
think it's more that I'm used to dealing with it. You know, I notice when the fear is creeping in, or the self consciousness, or whatever it might be, imposter syndrome. I notice it right away, and I am just aware that I have to kind of push back against that. And I think that's a muscle and it's a practice, you know, and the
mm,
more you do it, the more you recognize it, the more you're able to just kind of go through that fear. And in fact, those are, you know, I think it's a little bit of a cliche, but those are the moments where you are something good is going to happen, something
yeah,
exciting is going to happen, you know,
right,
some
right.
type of learning experience and growth. Yeah.
Most of what I do when I work with my clients is introduce them to the art making process. And that might be not just color and shape and line on the paper, especially if they've never done this before, but also other things, poetry, listening to music, just responding to something that isn't intellectually based. Excuse me. And I'm wondering how that, whether that has been true for you as well, is that the more you immerse yourself in a variety of creative explorations, shall we say, the more it starts to free you up to lean into it more.
Absolutely. And surrounding yourself with different types of people, and there's just, you know, the um yeah, there's an openness, I would say, that again is kind of a practice and cultivation that happens when you are surrounding yourself with different types of artistic experiences and different types of artistic people. You notice things, and you uh you can practice, I think, quite literally being receptive and open to these different forms and what they might be telling you, and your own form and creative practice. um yeah, I feel like again it's kind of a practice. I feel like I've said that a few times now, but yeah, did that answer the question?
Yes, for me it did. I
Okay.
What I'm hearing and what you're saying is it's really a way of being in the world. You can
Yes,
either
absolutely.
be going down the straight and narrow, taking the shortest route possible to wherever you're going, or you can start saying, I wonder what that road, where that would take me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, yeah, noticing, that's a huge part of creativity and artistic practice, is just noticing things in the world or in other arts. And yeah, it's such uh, a beautiful way of being once you kind of tap into that. And I'm, you know, certainly no expert, but I think it's really when you start to think of it as a lifelong practice, that's when you really start to get somewhere.
Talk a little bit about your community oriented projects and whether participating in those would also help you to become more noticing, more aware.
Yeah. Um yeah, there's again something about being open to all the different kinds of people that are right around you, you know. For me, it's very much a physical location. Like the communities that I kind of feel the most strongly attached to are geographically very close to me.
Mm,
And I know that's not always the case. A lot of people are tapped into communities virtually and so forth. But yeah, there's so a lot of my work on the presenting side of things is kind of tapping into my local and regional community and bringing different musical experiences to that community in a way of just like connecting and bringing people into rooms together who may not have known each other previously, but now are in a room sharing an experience, and they live, a block away from each other. And now they have this shared experience, and I think that's just such an incredible thing. And ultimately, for me, the whole point of being a musician and an artist is, the okay, let me back up. It's not the whole point because I think the process is very, very important to me of creating. But then once you kind of get through that process and you've made something or you've done something or you're presenting something, then there becomes this whole other world to the art, which is just gathering people around it. And if you don't have that gathering, the process of making um, yeah, it's not quite the same, I would say.
So I'm hearing that there's a really important element of connection that happens with these in-person community gatherings where there's music and who knows what else in the process.
Mhm.
What kind of feedback do you get from people who come and join you at them?
Oh, such lovely feedback. Let's see. So one of the things that we do is we being me and my partner Sam, we present shows in our home, which is called Troy Listening Room. And this is an urban neighborhood in Troy, but it is very neighborhood like we don't have businesses right around except for our small corner stores. So it's very residential, and we have neighbors who just are so grateful that they can walk a block and go hear some music, and also be in a room with other people that they know or maybe they've seen on the street but haven't talked to. We have I remember so clearly someone told me at one of our recent shows that she always loved coming to these because she wasn't sure who she was going to see, but she knew she was going to see someone and that it felt very welcoming.
Mhm.
Um, and I think, yeah, ultimately the welcoming piece of it is very important and hard. It's something that we talk about a lot. How can we make these very welcoming? How can we make these feel accessible? Um, and I don't know that I have all the answers for that, but again, I feel like it's an ongoing conversation. But yeah, I think the feedback usually involves something along those lines of just being happy that they have something very, very local to them. And also that they can feel welcome, they can bring their kids, and so forth.
So that's a really great example of encouraging people to go see the actual event, not watch it on YouTube or stream it however
Mm-hmm.
you're going to do it, but that kind of electricity and that element of surprise. Oh, right. I didn't think of that, or I hadn't remembered that, or boy, this feels really good. That is just so needed right now.
It is, yeah, it really, really is. And this is very, very anecdotal. I don't have any data for this, but our experience is that people are hungry for these in-person experiences. I mean, our attendance has just shot through the roof even just in the last year, and we're seeing a lot of people coming whether or not they have any idea what the music is, which I think is honestly amazing. Like, what a cool thing to just go to a place, have no idea who the musicians are going to be, and be open and willing to just kind of see what happens, see what the experience is going to be like. we have a neighbor that comes to a lot of these shows, and I know for a fact that a lot of the music is not his cup of tea. But he comes, and he has told us like he really he wants to push himself. He wants to, try new things, and he's always willing to give it a try. And that to me is just a huge win. We definitely like to challenge people, but at the same time, we are it's very, very important to me that people feel they can have their own reaction to something,
Yeah,
that's huge. And I would say a big part of making people feel welcome is that their reaction to a piece of art is real and valid.
really important.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about you as an individual, that it's not only that you're an accomplished musician and composer, but that you care very much about your audience and how your work and where your work is being perceived and experienced.
Yes.
Not everybody's like that, as you
It's
know.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It's very, very important to me, both as a performer and as a host and presenter.
Yeah. So I'm interested in your thoughts about this. Because I paint and do a lot of mixed media work, as you can tell.
Your
Uh,
work looks incredible.
oh,
Yeah, it looks
thank you.
beautiful back there. Yeah.
Thank you. Uh, what I notice constantly is that not there's a dialogue that happens when you're creating art across the board, whatever kind of art you make. There's the dialogue that you have with the materials, and actually now there's three that I think of it. One with the materials, one with yourself as you interact with the materials, and then there's a third dialogue that happens once you share that piece of creative work with an audience.
Mhm.
Because I think that that's pretty amazing. Like the one with the audience is pretty straightforward, but what I'm thinking about is there's a question in this very long question is, do you see your work and writing and composing and performing as a way to listen to yourself more deeply?
Oh, absolutely. Um, yeah. I'm trying to think of like a good example. Um, but that's certainly the case. And I would say there have been times when I didn't know something was going on in my body or my heart, and then I'm playing piano and creating, and I'm like, "Oh, that's something's going on here."
Yeah.
um, this is just a little aside, but the other day I've been taking voice lessons, which is very humbling for me because I actually grew up singing, but I grew up singing in choirs, and choral singing is lovely because you're in a group and you're supported, and it's wonderful. Um, and I've just had this little bee in my bonnet that I should take voice lessons because singing on my own has always deeply scared me. um, so I started taking voice lessons, and I cried in my last lesson, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have some stuff that I need to work through," And like singing is so visceral and like so different from the rest of my musical practice. It was such a interesting moment, just being in that kind of beginner's mindset again as a professional musician. But I guess another example too is after my dad died, which was uh when was that? That was like 11 years ago. I was living in New York City, and I was working at a lot of my income was coming from playing for voice lessons, like operatic vocal coachings and that sort of thing. Um and I just remember I was so numb, just like not I couldn't do my own musical practice at that time, but I was playing for these voice lessons, and it was just I just remember thinking like that I was so grateful to have this job because it was still playing the piano, but there was a really specific focus, and it was not me. It was a singer and the teacher, and I was just to sit there in the background and play and not try to mess them up, you know. Um, and I was so grateful to have that job because I just like remember thinking that it felt so hard to play the piano, but this was like it was like forcing me to just kind of re-find myself and the piano. Um, I don't know if any of this has really answered your question, but I think that, you know, the different ways that we make music and make art, you know, you find these little things about yourself in them constantly, and stuff that you don't know is going on too. Um which is why I feel like the exploration part, like voice lessons, you know, I'm not going to become a singer tomorrow, but the exploration piece of it unlocks different things that you might not have known were going on if you're just kind of doing the same thing each time.
Yeah, that I'm so glad you said that because I agree with it. First of all, but secondly, I think it points to a truth that many of us, just out of either habit or efficiency, forget is a possibility. Is that, we spend so much time, many people do, maybe not you if we're lucky, spend so much time thinking about, fixing myself. I'm broken in this area of my life, or I need somebody to solve my problems for me, or somehow getting that notion that we're broken or we're
Mm.
inadequate. And it's not about trying to read more encouraging literature. It's more about engaging with our lives, and we're on the same page here, I think, in a creative way, because that helps us take that side road that we've been ignoring for years and years. And who knows what we might see when we go down it.
Yeah, and I think that the creative mindset, you know, there may very well be something that's wrong, you know, but the I think the creative mindset gives us a vision of what it could be, right? And so if something isn't working with ourselves, with our lives, our art, or whatever it might be personally, um, I think one of the greatest gifts that creativity can give us is the imagination to see how we can kind of work through that, or what we want our lives to be like in the future, even if we don't know necessarily the exact steps to get there. There's an imagination about what can be. um
I love that
yeah.
you're saying that. And it reminds me of a quote. I think it's Einstein who said, creativity is intelligence having fun.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
And why would we limit ourselves to an intellectual process of growing when we could have more fun being creative?
Yeah, I think that's really scary for a lot of people.
I do
You know,
too.
I think there's safety in doing the same kinds of things, getting into your routines, you know, seeing the same people, the communities that you know will accept you no matter what. Like I think that's very safe. And I on one level I get that, you know. On the other level, I'm like, "Oh, but there's so much other amazing stuff out there that you will never tap into if you don't just lightly step outside of your comfort zone, you know, just a little bit. Go to that neighborhood meeting where you think you might not be welcome, but actually you probably are, you know, or whatever it might be. Um yeah, and again, I feel like the more that you do that, the easier it becomes.
Mm. Do you think that you might use a different word for it, but do you think that becoming more creative, putting your toe in the water and trying a few different things builds your resilience. I was going to say resistance, but could have been a Freudian slip there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's related to what we were just talking about. That I think inherent in the creative practice is failure, or maybe failure is the wrong word for some people, but having things not work out the way you expect them to, right?
Mm,
Maybe you think you're going to make a sculpture and it's going to turn out one way and it turns out completely differently,
doesn't.
or it breaks or whatever. There
Yeah.
that is part of the creative process, and I think each time that happens, you learn something about yourself, you learn how to move through it, you learn how to accept it, you learn about the process and yourself from that. And that
Mm,
those are lessons that you can apply to anything in your life. I mean,
yeah,
it's so
absolutely.
important. um yeah.
So tell me something that you'd like people to know about you and your work that I haven't asked you yet.
Oh gosh. I don't know.
All right.
Let's see. um
Tell us about your upcoming album. Do they still call it albums?
yeah, you call it
I
an
have a
album,
turntable.
or yeah. um yeah, album, record, LP. I yes, I am so excited about this record. Talk about scared. It's every time I release new music, I feel this, like, oh, it's so scary. It's so vulnerable, You For me, I've worked on this new record for almost 3 years. um it was a huge part of my life for so long, and I think even like my closest, dearest friends, I've talked about it so much, but I think it's really hard to kind of wrap your mind around what it means when you've worked on a project for that long. Like, it's just always there in the background,
Yeah.
in one way or another, whether or not you're actually working on it on a given day. um but yeah, it feels like a huge, huge step for me in a lot of ways. I've worked with some amazing new collaborators that are kind of bucket list artists for me. I just am so thrilled that they even agreed to be on it. Um,
What kind of music how would you describe the album? What kind of music is it?
this is great practice for me. So let me see if I can do this.
You can.
Well, so I'm a pianist, so it is, piano driven music is usually what I say. Um,
Is it high
this
tech?
it high tech. Yes and no. I would say there is some, technology or kind of electronic instruments. There are also some solo piano tracks on the record. So it crosses a lot of ground for me in a way that I was kind of nervous about. I was nervous if it would feel cohesive in the end.
Hmm.
It's all instrumental. There are no lyrics. I don't sing.
Yet.
Yet. Uh, I usually use the word cinematic when talking about it, because I think that's kind of an easy
Hmm.
conjure for a lot of people. You think about kind of emotional instrumental music that's underscoring something, and obviously this is not film music. There's no visual component, but there's a lot of emotion in the music, and I I mean, I love instrumental music specifically because I love that it allows people to really go to their own place.
Mm.
Um, you know, excuse me, music with lyrics is also wonderful, but for me it can get a little too specific sometimes, and
Hmm.
instrumental music just lets your mind go where it needs to go, which I love.
No
Um,
borders.
yeah, yeah, totally. Um, Yeah, so there's cello on it, two drummers, electric bass. I would say it has some kind of jazz leanings, but it's all through composed. Um, Neoclassical is another kind of genre signifier
Mhm.
that people use sometimes. Yeah.
And so, if you were going to put a message in a bottle about this album, what would you have written on that message?
Well, I guess let me say let me talk about the title. So, a light, it's one word, a light, Alight, and actually have an apostrophe at the end of that. That is the title. And so, a light has two definitions. One is something can be a light, meaning it's on fire or it's kind of lit up. A house can be a light at night, and all the windows are lit up, or something can be on fire. It's a light. And then the second definition is um, has to do with uh, coming off. Oops, sorry, coming off of something into the air usually. So you'll often hear it with birds. So a bird will
Yes.
alight from a branch. You also hear it in the UK to alight from the train. It's kind of a different. Yeah, I like to think of it with birds alighting from branches.
Mm.
So those are the two definitions of that word that had been playing through my mind as I was working on a lot of this music. I would say there's a fire in the music.
Light, light, fire.
Yeah, absolutely. um, that I was feeling in my belly when I was writing and recording some of this music. Um, Sova, my artist name, translates to owl in several languages. And so I've had this image of owls alighting from branches, which has given me a lot
Mm.
of kind of peaceful imagery. I know owls are an amazing symbol, they have such rich symbolism and mythology all around the world. Um, so yeah, it's that, there's nothing like specific and narrative driven there, but I would say there's a lot of like rich yeah, symbolism and kind of emotional um ideas there with A Light and the album.
I love how you're describing this because you're basically encapsulating our conversation in describing the album or
Oh my gosh, I love that.
the musical piece, shall we say?
Yeah.
Because really, you're talking about all the things that are possible when you engage in trusting yourself, being vulnerable, being afraid, but still doing it, realizing so many different meanings to that single word, a light, and they all enhance one another. So well done, that
Oh,
description.
great. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited about it.
It sounds wonderful. And when is it coming out?
It's coming out September 4th.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice. So, two things. One is as we wrap up too soon, I'm afraid. The first is any parting words of encouragement for people who are still not sure they want to be more creative.
I guess I would say uh well, first of all, my hope for people would be that to understand that you can be creative without having to be an artist,
Mm.
in the kind of capital A
Yeah.
sense. There is creativity in literally everything that we do, or we can bring creativity to everything that we do. And it doesn't have to be some scary thing like you're learning watercolor, it can just be a slight mind shift so that it doesn't have to be as scary. Um, and then I guess the other thing too would be to see creativity as a way of connecting with people.
Mm.
If something feels scary, getting into a creative process or mindset, there are 1,001 people who are also feeling that. And so, and more, and so to find, just reach out, find someone, some people, a group who are doing a thing, and lean on them. There's so many people that have gone through these processes of self-doubt and fear about our art and otherwise. um and sometimes being a creative can feel isolating, but in fact we're not alone. We have so many people around us who have gone through this before, and we should be leaning on each other and talking to each other and learning from each other. And that's actually an amazing, beautiful thing, when you can look at it that way. So yeah, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or join the ranks of those who are
Or
afraid,
join the ranks of
but
those who
still
are
keep
afraid.
going.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
That's great. And then the second question I have is, can you share where people can find you these days?
Um, well, yes. So, I mean, online, I would say probably the easiest thing is my website, which is Sova, Sova dot music. Um, I am updating that now with upcoming tour dates around the album, and so that's kind of a good central hub. I also have a newsletter that I send out through Substack, somewhat irregularly, every couple months or so, and that is honestly my favorite way to connect via the internet. I love writing those newsletters. For better or worse, I don't really consider myself a writer, but I enjoy that process. I enjoy connecting with people that way,
Mhm.
much more so than social media. So I always encourage people to find me there, and send me an email too. I love that. So I would say, yeah, my website is the best kind of central way to find all those things.
It sounds like it's a one-stop shopping on
I
your
hope so.
website.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
My pleasure. Hopefully, we'll do it again.
Sounds good.
And for those of you who are listening or watching, thank you so much for joining us. And if you like what you see, please subscribe and like and even share. Thanks so much again, and bye for now.